Hello everybody and welcome to this video on iOS 26. This is actually the 19th version of iOS, I believe. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But before we get started, I'd like to make at least one announcement here. I'd like to thank the channel members for making a lot of this content possible. Even though there's a very small amount, I would love to see that number grow and you guys can have your names on screen with these two fine people up here. Their names are on screen as we speak. So I think the first thing I'd like to really touch on about iOS 26 was the really long wait it felt like. It really wasn't that long. But, so the first thing I like to say is, a lot of the tech websites and articles I was reading, they're all like, listen guys, iOS 26 is going to release on July 14th. This falls in line of the last 16 Apple releases and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's all great and good, but there hasn't really been an official statement. I'd love to believe you. I just can't see it happening. And July 14th came and went, and there was no public iOS 26 on the developer. And you're probably thinking, well, dude, why didn't you just choose the developer release? And I didn't choose the developer release simply because I perceive the developer releases as being much less stable, and there's also, I've heard, a serious drain on battery life, so I wanted to stay away from that for a little bit, as long as I could. Simply so I didn't have to charge my phone like 10 times in a day. But yes, so July 14th came and went, and I waited another week, and I saw a tweet from, it was like Mark, some guy named Mark I saw, that said it's going to release sometime around July 23rd. So July 23rd came and went, and there was nothing once again. And for reference, it is July 24th. So the wait wasn't really long after that. But even then, you know, I had opened up my phone. First thing I did, 9 in the morning. Not the first thing I did. I used the bathroom first, of course, and turned off my alarm. But so I checked the Google, and all these articles come out like, iOS 26 is really released, guys. This is what it's all about. I'm thinking, oh, no way. Let me go check the official Apple website, which I probably should have done first. And it was, nope, iOS 26 is coming soon. Thinking, oh my gosh, bro, you gotta be kidding me. You know, I checked back those articles later in the day, and they actually had the issue, like a little edit at the very top of the articles, like, sorry, we were wrong, it's not actually released, we'll update it when it does. So I'm thinking, well, why'd you guys even wait? You guys were so dead set, but that's besides the point. I should have ran about editorial practices. Yeah, the wait was long, and I saw it finally released today. I was like, oh, might as well try it. So I started installing it about 20 minutes before I had to leave the work. It finally gets installed, and I'm thinking, oh, just in time. And then it's installing, and I'm thinking, man, I really got to leave for work right now. Let's just take my phone and go. And then, of course, right when I get into the car, it actually, like, opens up and starts trying to get me to prompt me to do all this crap I don't want to do. So that happened. But, you know, I actually got it installed, it was all working, and I noticed that it was incredibly slow and buggy and different. It was like, whoa, what is this? I didn't expect it to be this different. And for the first hour or so I was using it, my phone was incredibly buggy, slow, and it was really draining battery life, which I was shocked by. I was like, wow, is really draining battery. For reference, I'm running an iPhone 16e, so that's, you know, I believe the phone has the same chip as the iPhone, as the regular iPhone 16, but I don't know. I'm not a big iPhone spec guy anymore. I just use my phone to use my phone. But after the first hour or so, everything started to become very smooth and nice, and it felt very cool to use. I liked using it. I still like using it. 6 hours after I've installed it, I really like it. So I should probably talk about what I like looking at, of course, because one of the big things of this update is the visual overhaul, and yeah, it's nice. The real-time rendering, which I'm 90% sure it is doing this in real time, because if it's not, I don't know how they're doing it. It's very nice. The issue is it does drain battery a little bit more than usual. I didn't scientifically test that, of course. This is purely anecdotal, but I perceived the battery as dropping a little bit more quicker than it usually was on iOS 18. I would say I like the real-time rendering and glass effects when it's not in motion. And you're probably thinking, hey, that kind of defeats the whole purpose. So I can explain. In some things, there's some wallpapers I tried out of my own and it was like, oh my gosh, I can't even read the clock. But that probably could have been fixed, so I would have put it on dark mode, but I was at work and I didn't exactly have all the time in the world to really mess around. This is simply my first impressions with it. So yeah, but once I switched over to the new stock wallpaper, which is very cool, I believe it changes throughout the day. Like the colors will change depending on where the sun is or something like that. It's a dynamic wallpaper. And I like that. I think it looks really good if that's stock wallpaper. I haven't really tried many other ones. I tried like a Spider-Man comic book cover, and it just didn't look very good. Also, I feel like with all those real-time effects, the lighting was like all over the place, and it just, some things were like impossible to read. Another thing I noticed was a lot of the apps I already had installed, which I didn't expect to like have new icons, did. Like all the YouTube, most of the Google apps, I should say, have new and updated icons to fit with iOS 26, which I liked. I thought that was very nice. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. So most of the apps I have already had on my phone did have that updated look to them. Some of them didn't, like Instagram didn't, I believe. I didn't notice a difference, so if there was, let me know, but I didn't notice there was a difference. YouTube looked a little bit nicer, YouTube Studio looked nicer. Most of the apps looked a lot brighter and nicer. Only in light mode, however. Dark mode, the differences aren't as pronounced, which those who are using it has probably already know this, or have picked up on it. There is a difference, it's just not as pronounced, I said, as on light mode. I also noticed, I noticed this like a few weeks ago, like some apps I was already using have already adopted that liquid glass feel. Like this TVS app, for example, I noticed had a more liquid glass-like appearance. YouTube had put in some more transparency effects, stuff like that, which probably in the next 6 weeks, probably the next 6 to 8 weeks, we will see more updated appearances for apps that utilize the real-time lighting effects and stuff like that. I would say I'm not a huge fan of the UI yet. I think the music app, for example, it's just not right. Something's wrong about it. I don't like how, I feel like they moved the library icons around like the menu icons ever so slightly, where it's just messing with me. I never used a home icon on Apple Music. I listen to my music and my music only. I don't usually seek out new music unless I heard about it from someone else. My music taste has pretty much stayed the same for the last 3 to 4 years, about 3 years now. It's pretty much just been like alternative rock from the 90s. And, you know, I'm not seeking out new music. And if I do want to seek out new music, I use the infinity icon, or the like autoplay for all these other songs that fit the similarities, or fit the genre and similarities of music I'm already listening to, which I do like that feature. That's actually how I have discovered a lot of the new music I listen to. Not new music, but like new to me. I believe that's actually how I discovered Smashing Pumpkins. That's how I discovered. There's a few more bands. I was going to say Pixies, but I did not discover Pixies that way. I discovered them via TikTok when remember that song was played a lot when Fight Club got real popular again, because the one really popular song is at the end of Fight Club. The name of it has completely, I've blanked what that title of the song is, which I really think I shouldn't, because that's like one of my favorite songs, but that's besides the point. Speaking of music, let's talk about the auto mix. And, well, I tried it. I would go to like the last 15 seconds of the song to see if I can hear the other song creeping in, and it was like 10 seconds of silence, and then the next song was playing. I was like, hey, that's not right. That's not how that's supposed to work. But I didn't mess with it again after that. I just let them play. I was like, hey, you know, and I was thinking about it, you know, it must be doing its job, because I'm not even noticing this song switching. So I don't know if they built that in, where if you go to the last 15 seconds, you're not going to hear the next song. I also tried it with some downloaded music. I figured, you know, maybe it can't pull the next song quick enough, or it can't do that. I don't know. I'm not one to really ask those questions. This is just what I perceive to be happening. So if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. I'd like an answer. As for new Siri stuff, I never use Siri, whatever. I usually turn it off most of the time. So I don't know if there's anything new with Siri on that end. I think Siri's kind of a joke anyway. I think it's been a joke since it was beginning. Since it started, it wasn't useful in 2016, and it's still not useful in 2025 for barely anything because it doesn't know what you're talking about, and it like lacks all context. It's like having Snap AI as your like personal assistant. It's like the dumbest thing ever. Snap AI can barely remember a conversation it had 2 seconds ago, and I feel like Siri is the exact same way. But those are my personal gripes on Siri. I always thought AI assistants were stupid, especially when it can barely open the apps on your own phone. I would say it is overall nice. I like the look of it. It's going to take a while to get used to. I would say that it's like iOS 7 or iOS 6 to iOS 7, and I really disliked that when it first came out. And I would say I'm much more receptive to this. I like this. It's nice on the eyes. It's not. I like how there's all this depth to stuff. I think it's beautiful looking. I like how the camera icon went back to the like classic camera icon look, which I think the original camera is like really nice. So that's that. Speaking of Mac OS 26, I am definitely going to wait a very long time to do Mac OS 26 or Tahoe, whatever you want to call it, simply because I don't want Mac OS 26 breaking Adobe or some other app I use all the time. I've had issues with that in the past. Every once in a while, I would update to the new Mac OS, and some like really weird niche thing in Adobe would stop working, and then it would work again. So now I wait like 3 to 4 weeks to actually update my Mac OS. I would say, however, Penn State, if you're listening, which you're probably not, Lion Path does not work with this new public beta version of Safari. It is broken. I would send out an IT request or something, but I don't care that deeply because I just use Firefox for all your Penn State stuff because y'all told us to. And you always like, oh, never use Safari. Safari's bad for Penn State. That's what they always say if you go to Penn State. Well, they did on some things, not everything. I am exaggerating that a bit. I think I probably only ever saw that notice once in my entire time at Penn State so far. But that is about it for my first impressions of iOS 26. For everything that I use my phone for, which isn't much, it's literally just to take some photos, socialize with my friends, and text family and check YouTube stats once a week on my phone because I never really do anything on my phone, and to watch YouTube because YouTube Premium, you can just turn the phone off and listen to it, the greatest thing ever. But yeah, I don't really use my phone for like everything. When I do, I don't use Siri or any of that stuff. So a lot of that stuff has completely passed by me. But for what I use it for, which is literally, as I said, like basic social networking, I guess, it works fine. The UI is going to take a little bit to get used to, but that's really that. I like it. I really like the real-time lighting. I think it's really cool looking. But that's really all I have to say about it. There's not much more I can really say about it because I haven't used it too much. As maybe public beta 2, 3, and 4, however many more we get come out, I will talk about it more. But I think that really wraps it up for today's little rant about iOS 26. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. For those who do not follow the community posts for this channel, the Steve Wozniak iceberg is coming along very nicely. I did finish the script today. I don't think I put an announcement up for that, but recording will begin tomorrow for all that, and hopefully that video will be up and ready by next Saturday. So stick around for that if you guys are interested in the Steve Wozniak video. And that's about it, and I'll catch y'all next week.